there, it's Juliana Michaels and welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing a sneak peek into my brand new class, Pretty Grunge Part 2, Mixed Media Embellishments, plus my first look at the brand new Sizzix Big Shot Machine. If you've been around for a while, you know how much I love my die cuts, and in Part 2, they're the stars of the show. Now I want to share a little bit more about my new class, Pretty Grunge Part 2, Mixed Media Embellishments. This class is all about transforming dies, stamps, and embossing folders into dimensional mixed media embellishments using inks, sprays, embossing powders, and more, all in that Pretty Grunge style. You'll learn tons of ways to add color, texture, and shimmer, perfect for creating focal points for your cards, journals, or mixed media projects. This is a live class that will be happening on Saturday, November 1st, 2025, and it's divided into two 2-hour sessions. The first one will run from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. There'll be a 1-hour break, and then session 2 will run from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't make it live, no worries. You'll get full replay access so you can watch it anytime that works for you. The cost for the class is $20, and this includes the 4-hour class with lifelong access to it, a 25-page class guide, plus 2 additional bonus guides. Whether you join me for Pretty Grunge Part 1 or are taking this class as your first, it's designed to help you stretch your creative skills and build a stash of embellishments ready for your next project. If you took Part 1, you'll already have a perfect stash of backgrounds ready to go. And since die cutting is such a big part of creating these embellishments, I wanted to take a closer look at the machine that makes it all happen, the Sizzix Big Shot. Sizzix was kind enough to send me one of their new Big Shot machines to try, and I'm not going to be sharing about it to try to convince you to get a new one or anything like that. I'm just looking to share about the machine because it's new to me and to help you if you're thinking about replacing an old one or if you're wanting to pick up a new one for the first time. The original Big Shot machine, it's been around since 2001, so it was definitely due for a little bit of a facelift. And this new version definitely feels more modern, but it has kept all of the same quality and pressure and everything that you would expect with a die cutting machine, especially one from Sizzix. Some of the new upgrades include this sleek new top handle, which is ergonomic and makes it a lot more sleek. It gives it a lower profile so it's not quite as tall, and that way it takes up less space when you're storing it, but it's still super sturdy. Now I've had some hand issues myself, and I will say it's still comfortable to pick this up for me, but I mean the machine is heavy. And, so if you do have hand or wrist issues, you could always just kind of grab it from the base and pick it up to carry it, and it's a lot more comfortable that way, at least for me. Another change is the fact that it has a removable handle. All you have to do is press this button here, and it just slides out. And then you turn the machine over, and there is a space on the bottom to just pop it in. And then when you need to use it, you can just pop it back out, flip the machine over, and pop it back in, and you are ready to go. Overall, the machine has a slightly smaller footprint than the original Big Shot, but I think that's a great thing because it takes up a lot less space to store. And I also love that the cutting pads that come with it actually all will slide in the machine. You just kind of crank them through, and you can just hold them all together there with your machine at the same time. So that's just, I thought, also another little positive. Another thing on the bottom that you will notice is that it's got these non-stick pads, which the other machine had as well, so you don't have to worry about this machine sliding around or anything when you're trying to use it. So one of the best parts for me is that you can still keep and use all of your current cutting sandwiches. So this uses the exact same configuration for cutting plates and cutting platforms and everything. Everything's the same. So you can use all of the embossing folders, 2D, 3D, thinlits, regular dies, bigs dies, all of those still work with this machine just like the previous machines. I've had my Big Shot for 10 years and it's still going strong, but the handle's seen better days and the pressure isn't quite what it used to be. I'm actually going to be donating mine to a local group that makes cards for hospice patients. So I'm happy to say that it's going to keep creating for a good cause for many years. So this machine comes with the standard cutting platform and then the thin metal adapter die. And then these both have instructions on them for layering and how to use them with various types of dies and embossing folders. And then of course it comes with 2 standard cutting plates. So now that we've talked about the machine, let's see it in action with a quick Pretty Grunge project. So we're going to take this for its first test run together, and as many of you know, I love distress watercolor cardstock. That's one of my favorite papers to use. So I'm just going to start off with die cutting, kind of a simple shape, but with a piece of watercolor cardstock. I'll just place the paper there in the die and run it through the machine here. And that cracking is normal, that little popping noise, that's completely normal when you're doing any die cutting. And immediately you can tell the same quality of cutting and pressure and everything that I would expect. And beautiful cut there with the watercolor cardstock. Now we'll kind of rotate our plate around here a little bit, and now let's try cutting that same die here from a piece of vellum. Run that through. Again, nice, beautiful cut there. So, you know, this is, of course, pretty simple die, nothing too detailed there. But now let's take something that is a really, really detailed die. Like this is a hard one to cut. And I have a piece of scrapbook.com's mixed media cardstock here, which, if you're not familiar with it, it is a really thick, heavy-duty paper made for mixed media. And we're going to run this through here and see how that does. Now, I will say it's not cutting all the way through. This paper, but that said, this paper is super, super thick. So when I cut this die, normally I use the chrome precision plate. So let's try that here and see how that does. I think I'm still gonna need this though. See how that does. Oh yeah, now we're talking. So like I said, this die is just super hard to cut anyway, but with that precision plate, you're getting a great cut. And then this is just one of those that just takes some time to pop out of the paper. I know people recommend like using wax paper and things like that. I personally don't like dealing with the wax paper because I find like it gets stuck in the die and then I got to clean that out of the die. So this is just my personal preference, but if you've got ways that you really enjoy when you're cutting these kind of detailed dies, go for it. You're going to be able to do the same, whatever you've normally done, you're going to be able to do it with this new machine if you were to get this one. So don't have to worry about that, and then just pop all those little pieces out and that will be ready to go. Now let's try a piece of glitter cardstock as well, just out of curiosity. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need this chrome plate because again, this die is really, really detailed. and we're dealing with glitter cardstock, which if you've ever tried to die cut it, sometimes it can be a little finicky as well. So maybe we'll just run that through twice just to see out of curiosity what happens there. And oh yeah, perfect. You can, nice clean cut there. In fact, it came right out of the paper. Oh, almost. There we go. So yeah, we'll just have to, and then see this one actually did even better. So I've got all these little pieces in the die now that I'm going to have to pop out, but yeah, perfect. So far I'm doing all the things that I would normally do with my die cutting machine, and everything is doing just as I would expect it to. All right, so now we're going to do some embossing, and I'm going to remove the thin adapter die and just have the main platform and a cutting plate here. And I'm going to take that butterfly die and an embossing folder. And before we do any embossing, I'm going to rub this ink pad over the surface of the embossing folder. So I've got the embossing folder. This is the front of the embossing folder, and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to rub the ink pad on the back side of the front or top of the embossing folder. And so I'm just rubbing it over the surface, not pushing down, just rub. And then that'll transfer that ink over onto the surface. And then I'm going to take this die cut and spritz it with a little bit of water. Just kind of do that a little over to the side here. I don't want to spritz the front of it because I'm dealing with water reactive ink, and I don't really want that ink to get runny. I just want it to, water will help soften the paper so that it will emboss and give you even like the best, crispest embossed detail there. So now we're gonna lace that in the machine here. My other cutting plate on top. And, oh wait, wrong. 2D, 3D. I think this is a 3D folder, so I don't need the bottom plate. I just need the top two here. All right, so I myself need to read the instructions. I'm using a 3D texture impression, so I just need the base plate and the top cutting plate. I'm gonna run that through there. And of course could run that through more than once, but as you can see, that ink transfers over and embosses into the paper. So you get this really beautiful embossed design. So that was kind of fun, showing you my first use of a new machine. I don't know if I've ever done that on one of my videos, but I think I've usually played with it before I shared about it. But first blush, I'm loving the new machine just as much as my old one, and along with a couple of the improvements, probably the biggest thing that I love about this is the size. I love that it's a little more compact and it's going to take up less space on my table that I have all my die cutting set up on. So yeah. So let's go on to assembling this card here. So now let's add a little bit more interest to our die cuts, and one more step that you can do with your die cut here if you want is to take another ink pad. You could use the same color or you could use a different color. I'm going to go with this scorched timber, and I'm just going to, you're just going to almost just lay it down on the paper. You're not pressing, and then you're going to rub it over the surface. Now, depending on how juicy your ink pad is, you may or may not need to press at all. So if it's really juicy, you're probably not going to need to hardly press at all to get any ink to transfer over onto that raised area. And you just kind of keep rubbing it lightly over the surface until you have ink where you want it or how much you want on there. And then that is finished and ready to go. And if you want to, you could also take like a little blending tool and rub that around the edges there to just give it a little bit more grunge and distress it a little bit more that way. You can also just hold it down and rub it around the edges this way. So now all we need to do is layer some of our pieces together. And for those of you that joined me in Pretty Grunge Part 1, this is one of the backgrounds that we created in that class. And I just pulled that from my stash, and then I'm just going to apply these die cuts to that. I trimmed the background down to 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches, and then I have a piece of white cardstock that I cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and I inked the edges of that with that scorched timber. And then if you want to use that vellum butterfly, you could put that on top of this. That kind of covers it up a little bit too much, but if you like to add some layers, you could place that underneath there and then pop everything up with a little bit of foam adhesive, and then pop on a sentiment. I always like to center mine, but you could put it up here or wherever you like. So if you'd like to learn even more techniques like this, make sure you join me for Pretty Grunge Part 2, Mixed Media Embellishments. You'll get lifetime access to the replay plus 2 free bonuses, my Pretty Grunge color combination guide, and 5 steps to creating clusters. You'll find all the links below in the description box, including where to check out the new Big Shot machine, and trust me, it's definitely earned a permanent spot on my desk. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, stay crafty, my friend.